The theme of healing through unlikely bonds is one of the most powerful and timeless elements in storytelling, especially when it comes to exploring human fragility, resilience, and the ways in which love finds its way into the most unexpected places. At its core, this theme emphasizes that people often find the strength to rebuild themselves not through predictable or planned relationships, but through encounters that seem random, even inconvenient, at first glance. It reflects the truth that healing rarely comes in the neat forms we imagine. Instead, it slips into our lives disguised as strangers, accidents, or coincidences, and only later do we realize that these moments were meant to stitch together parts of us we believed were permanently broken. In the context of this story, the young homeless woman and the little girl become unlikely healers for each other, meeting at a point in their lives where both are burdened by emptiness yet secretly carrying an openness to connection. The young homeless woman is introduced not merely as someone without a house, but as someone without an anchor in the world. Homelessness, while materially defined by the lack of a roof, often also implies disconnection from community, from family, and from a sense of identity. She is young, which makes her presence at the bus stop both striking and heartbreaking, because youth is supposed to be the time of building futures, of education, work, love, and hope. Yet, in her case, youth has been shadowed by struggle. Perhaps she has been hurt by life in ways that forced her into survival mode. Maybe she grew up in the foster care system, shuffled from one temporary shelter to another, never learning what stability feels like. Or perhaps she had a family once, but circumstances, loss, abuse, or poverty, stripped her of safety. Whichever backstory we imagine for her, she represents countless people whose lives spiral into homelessness not because of laziness or weakness but because the world was unkind in ways they could not control. This young woman carries not only physical hunger but also a deep longing to belong somewhere, to someone, in a way that feels permanent and safe. Then there is the little girl. Children are often described as resilient, but resilience does not erase longing. A little girl who tells a stranger at a bus stop, "You need a home, and I need a mommy," is not simply being innocent or playful. She is voicing a truth too big for her age, a confession that she feels the absence of motherly love in her life. Whether her mother has passed away, abandoned her, or is physically present but emotionally unavailable, the child feels a hole where nurturing should be. This hole aches so much that she instinctively seeks to fill it, even if it means proposing an impossible arrangement with someone society might label unsafe or unfit. Children do not worry about the social boundaries adults do. They see people as they are in the moment, through lenses of need and possibility, and sometimes that clarity is what reveals opportunities for healing that grown-ups overlook. The little girl is lonely, and loneliness in a child often manifests as bravery in reaching out where others would hesitate. She is brave enough to invite this stranger into her life, to suggest a bond that could soothe both their wounds. When the girl and the young woman meet, the bond is unlikely not just because of their circumstances but because of the world around them. Society tends to separate people into categories, to decide who is worthy of trust and who is not, who deserves care and who should be feared. A little girl is supposed to be protected from strangers at bus stops. A homeless woman is often treated as invisible or dangerous, not as someone who could possibly provide love. Yet the magic of unlikely bonds lies precisely in defying those rigid categories. Healing happens when human beings see each other not as labels but as souls, and that is what the girl does. She sees not a homeless woman, but a potential mother. The woman, in turn, does not see a bothersome child intruding on her solitude, but perhaps a reminder of her own innocence, her own capacity to nurture, a role she has longed for without realizing it. The healing begins not with action, but with recognition. Recognition is powerful because it tells a person, "You are seen." For the young woman, who has been ignored by passers-by, judged by strangers, and perhaps even disowned by family, to be looked at by this little girl with hope and affection is in itself a mending experience. It begins to chip away at the shame and invisibility she has carried. For the little girl, who feels the absence of maternal affection, to have a woman, even a stranger, listen to her, respond to her, and acknowledge her need, gives her a taste of comfort she has been missing. Healing is not always dramatic. Sometimes it starts in the tiny, tender moments of being noticed and validated. From there, the bond deepens as they interact. The girl might ask the woman questions about her life, about why she is at the bus stop, about whether she is hungry or tired. These questions are innocent, but they touch the woman's heart in places she has kept locked. Very few people ask the homeless how they feel or what they need in a way that conveys real care. The child's curiosity comes not from pity but from genuine desire to connect. The woman, in turn, may begin to respond with honesty, perhaps softening her voice as she speaks, perhaps even laughing when the child says something funny or mispronounces a word. These small exchanges are the stitching of two wounded souls into a patchwork of something resembling family. The theme of healing through unlikely bonds also acknowledges that the process is not one-sided. Too often in narratives of homelessness or loneliness, the focus rests on how one party benefits, but true healing is reciprocal. The young woman may initially see herself as unworthy of connection, thinking she has nothing to offer. Yet through the child's eyes, she begins to realize she does have something valuable, the capacity to love, to nurture, to fill a void in someone else's life. When the little girl says she needs a mommy, she is offering the woman not only a plea but also a purpose. Purpose is one of the most potent forms of healing, especially for those who have been stripped of identity and role in society. To be given the chance to be mommy, even if only symbolically in that moment, restores the woman's sense of worth. It reminds her that she is not just a person without a home, but someone who can create home for another through affection and care. On the other hand, the little girl receives healing not only through the idea of having a mother figure but also through the affirmation that her needs are valid. Children are often told to stop asking for too much, to accept absence quietly, but when the woman listens to her and responds kindly, the girl learns that it is okay to voice longing. This validation nurtures her self-worth, teaching her that her emotions matter and that her desire for connection is not a flaw but a part of being human. The girl gains more than comfort, she gains confidence that love can be found in unexpected places. The beauty of unlikely bonds is that they also create a mirror effect. The little girl, in her vulnerability, mirrors the woman's inner child, the part of her that still yearns for comfort and stability. And the woman, in her tentative steps toward nurturing the girl, mirrors the adult figure the child craves. Each becomes both healer and healed, without even consciously trying. This mutuality is the essence of why such bonds are powerful. They do not rely on one being strong and the other weak, but on both being incomplete and finding wholeness together. Furthermore, this theme speaks to a broader truth about humanity. We often search for healing in predictable ways: therapy sessions, structured relationships, carefully chosen mentors or friends, but some of the deepest bonds form in places we never expect. A conversation with a stranger on a bus, a fleeting moment of kindness at a store, or, in this case, an exchange between a homeless woman and a child. These moments remind us that connection does not always follow logic or social rules. Healing is less about fitting into the right categories and more about daring to respond to need with openness. When someone says, "I need you," and we answer, even shakily, "Maybe I need you too," the possibility of transformation begins. For the homeless woman and the little girl, this possibility is profound. It does not erase their struggles. The woman still lacks shelter, the child still faces the reality of her absent mother, but it plants seeds of hope. The girl may go home that day feeling less lonely, carrying the warmth of having been noticed and mothered, however briefly. The woman may leave the bus stop with a spark inside her, a reminder that she can still create love and be loved. The healing does not complete in one meeting, but it begins, and beginnings are the most crucial part of any journey toward wholeness. The journey from emptiness to hope is one of the most universal and deeply human arcs, and it is particularly moving when told through characters who begin their stories with nothing but voids inside of them. Emptiness is not always silence or stillness. It can be loud, aching, and relentless, like a hunger that never ends. It manifests differently in people, yet at its root it is the absence of belonging, the absence of assurance, the absence of love. When two characters who embody this emptiness find each other, their meeting sets in motion a fragile but powerful journey toward hope, a journey that unfolds not as a sudden miracle but as a series of small recognitions, acts of trust, and discoveries that gradually build into the possibility of new life. For the young homeless woman, emptiness comes from displacement. She drifts through streets, shelters, and temporary spaces without ever finding a place she can call her own. The lack of physical shelter is devastating enough, sleeping on benches, huddling under blankets in the cold, relying on strangers' charity, but the deeper wound is emotional. To not have a home means not having walls that carry memories, not having a room that bears the scent of safety, not having an address that roots her in the world. It means being invisible in the eyes of a society that values stability and possession. Her emptiness is compounded by the way people pass her by, avoiding eye contact, pretending she does not exist. There is a loneliness in being unseen, a hollowness in feeling like a ghost among the living. That is the place she begins in, bereft of shelter, identity, and affirmation. The little girl's emptiness is different in shape but equal in weight. Children do not need much to feel whole. Often, a steady presence, consistent love, and gentle care are enough. Yet when those basic elements are missing, the child feels not only sadness but confusion. She does not understand why her mother is gone or absent or emotionally unreachable. She only knows that something critical is missing. That missing piece makes her world feel less steady. At an age when most children should be confident that someone will tuck them into bed, soothe their nightmares, and celebrate their milestones, she carries uncertainty instead. Her emptiness may not look like the young woman's physical homelessness, but it is a form of homelessness of the heart. She does not feel anchored to maternal love, and this lack gnaws at her in ways she cannot fully name. When these two meet at the bus stop, their emptiness resonates like two hollow instruments echoing the same note. The girl's direct words, "You need a home, and I need a mommy," strike the heart of their shared condition. Each has what the other lacks, or at least the potential for it. The woman could become the nurturing figure the girl longs for, and the girl could become the sense of belonging the woman craves. At first, this seems like an impossible equation, because neither is in a position to give what the other needs in the conventional sense. The woman cannot provide a home in the physical, material way that society defines it. The girl cannot instantly transform into a maternal presence. Yet the beauty of hope is that it does not require perfection, only possibility. The journey toward hope begins the moment they acknowledge each other's needs. For the homeless woman, hearing the little girl's confession may stir something long buried, a recognition that someone sees her not only as broken but as capable of giving love. That recognition is a seed of hope. It tells her that her identity is not limited to her circumstances. For the little girl, hearing the woman respond, even with uncertainty or surprise, is also a seed. It shows her that her longing does not have to exist in silence. She can reach out, and someone might answer. These seeds are tiny, fragile, and easily crushed, but once planted, they begin to grow quietly beneath the surface of their lives. The next stage in the journey from emptiness to hope is trust. Trust is never instantaneous, especially between those who have been wounded. The homeless woman may have been betrayed by those she depended on, abandoned by family, or failed by systems that promised to help. The child may have been let down by adults in her life who should have protected her but did not. Their instinct might be to shield themselves from further disappointment. Yet in their interaction, even something as simple as the woman sitting closer so the child feels heard, or the girl holding the woman's hand for a moment, creates cracks in the armor of distrust. These small gestures allow hope to slip through. Trust does not erase their past wounds, but it offers a glimpse of a future where they do not have to be defined by those wounds. As their bond deepens, hope begins to manifest in tangible ways. The woman, who once felt purposeless, might find herself thinking differently. Instead of only surviving for herself, she now considers the possibility of being a source of comfort for someone else. Purpose is a powerful antidote to emptiness. It transforms drifting into direction, despair into determination. The child, in turn, may start to feel less abandoned. Knowing that there is a woman who looks at her with affection, who listens and responds, even if imperfectly, begins to fill the cavern left by her absent mother. For her, hope takes the form of emotional safety, the sense that she matters, that someone could be there for her, even if that person comes from an unexpected place. What makes this journey profound is that hope does not erase their realities but reshapes them. The young woman may still lack a home, may still struggle with hunger and instability. The little girl may still go back to a life where her mother is not present or where loneliness lurks. Yet the spark between them offers a counter-narrative. It whispers that emptiness is not permanent, that connections can be forged even in desolate circumstances, and that healing can begin even when conditions remain hard. Hope does not demand perfection, it thrives in imperfection, because it is precisely the cracks that allow light to enter. Their journey also highlights the transformative power of redefining what home and family mean. Society tells us that home is a house with walls and a roof, and that a family consists of parents and children bound by blood. Yet in their interaction, the woman and the girl begin to expand those definitions. Home becomes not a physical structure but the warmth of being wanted. Family becomes not a biological tie but a bond of care. When the girl looks at the woman and calls her, "Mommy," even playfully, she is asserting this new definition. And when the woman entertains the idea, even hesitantly, she is stepping into a role that brings her dignity and belonging. These redefinitions do not just comfort them in the moment, they reshape their vision of what is possible. They prove that emptiness does not have the final word, that human connection can rewrite the boundaries of what counts as love, home, and hope. This journey is gradual, fragile, and deeply human. It is filled with moments of doubt, because both characters may question whether they are enough. The woman might wonder if she can truly care for a child when she cannot care for herself. The child might wonder if this woman will vanish like others have before. Yet even these doubts are part of the journey. Hope is not the absence of fear but the courage to move forward despite it. Each time they choose to stay in connection, each time they exchange words, glances, or gestures of care, they affirm that the emptiness inside them can be transformed, little by little, into something sustaining. And so the theme of the journey from emptiness to hope is not about sudden transformation or miraculous rescue. It is about two broken souls daring to believe in each other, daring to imagine that what they lack can be found not in perfection or certainty but in presence and connection. It is about the way a homeless woman, often dismissed as invisible, can discover her worth through the gaze of a child, and the way a lonely child, aching for a mother, can find comfort in the arms of someone who has nothing but still offers love. It is about the quiet revolution that begins when emptiness meets emptiness and together they create the fragile, luminous beginnings of hope. Do you want me to continue this explanation in the same reflective, essay-like tone, or would you like me to weave it more into a narrative expansion where these ideas play out like scenes between the woman and the child?